I wanted to be a journalist, to learn, to listen, to question, to be trusted. I was just innately curious about the world around me. My parents would probably call it nosiness, but in the considerable years that have followed, I've never lost belief, faith in the role of journalism to help us better understand the world around us. I believe it to be absolutely critical to how we make decisions about our world in which we live every day. And I've worked, as Anne mentioned, in traditional media, in startup media, in platform media, and now back in Dublin doing another technology company with Mark called Kinzen. And in all of those years, I've seen an industry in turmoil. I've seen an industry grapple with a citizen that used to look like that, consuming news and media and information every day, that today looks like this. And as we've seen that transition, that from and that to, what you don't see in those two images are years of strife, years of turmoil in the journalism industry, where for years there was disruption. Everybody became a publisher. You think of how you consume news and information today. It's on multiple devices in multiple different ways. How we distribute news and information has vastly changed. And we're still grappling with the changes of that. And for the most part, for many years, that was great. Technology was good. It made us more curious. We came to better understand the world. We were more connected. We were probably more educated. But at some point, it took a turn for the worse, where media, technology companies, we bought into this mantra of move fast and break things. And we did break things. Because we built algorithms that were designed to keep us in this endless scroll on platforms, on apps, on websites, where we were endlessly scrolling through emotive, sensationalist content, where we were going back and refreshing, and we're all guilty of this, seeking that hit, looking for more comments, more engagement, the likes, the claps, and it was all fueled by ad dollars. And to keep up with it, the media industry, journalism, had to seek out more clicks, bigger scale, bigger growth, mass audiences, and it all of a sudden meant more content everywhere, faster, more content everywhere. It just got extraordinarily busy. And in the middle of that, a connection was broken between journalists and people because quality journalism was having to compete every day with that busy social newsfeed of emotive, sensationalist, clickbait-driven content. And in the middle of all of that, we created a wicked problem. And a wicked problem is something that is constantly changing and evolving. It's complex, it's contradictory. There's no one solution to solve for it. And in the midst of that wicked problem, trust suffered. It was one of the biggest outcomes of that moment of busyness, of content, faster content everywhere. So this is the outcome of those years of move fast and break things. This is what we're now dealing with today, is this moment of mistrust, where very few people trust what they see very often in front of them on websites and platforms. And they're questioning. And the self-awareness is good. It's good to be critically aware and skeptical, but it has brought forward larger, bigger questions around trust. The symptom of that wicked problem has been manipulation, has been false news, has been this misinformation, this disinformation order that we find ourselves. But it's also been the sense of there are cookies tracking me across the internet. I no longer feel in control. And as a result of that moment of awakening to it, we have seen people in recent years change their behaviors. They're getting off some platforms. They're deleting some experiences. They're hiding their digital footprints. They're moving to private network messaging platforms to have those conversations. So there's an awareness. There's a moment of change. But in all of it, with that content everywhere moment, we feel overwhelmed. A lot of us are seeking out a detox to feel like we need to unplug, that less is actually better, not this constant, always-on culture. And we see people now saying, yeah, I feel worn out with my digital diet every day. So we find ourselves in this moment, for me in Kinzen, with Mark and Paul, of let's start again. And really asking critical questions of fellow tech companies and media companies to say, let's challenge the conventional wisdom of what it means to be a successful tech company. What does it look like if we stop and say, let's start again? What does it look like if we build the social media revolution from scratch? What does it look like when we build tech companies that are optimized for trust, for social good, for the betterment of society? And we believe we are in a moment of correction, that we are at a crossroads. And for that crossroads, those are the tech companies that are going to embrace this. Not the move fast and break things, but move slow and build things, fix what's broken. That we are going to go and realize the power of technology for social good, its original promise. And what does that look like? Well, there are already people leading the movement. Adrienne Marie Brown, who is an extraordinary lady who has done incredible thinking about this and who ultimately believes that trust is a practice. We need trust in our teams, in our companies, in our products, in our projects. That without it, it's very hard to move forward, to have that long-term sustainability. That we have to be representatives of the narratives of those not in power. That we need that resilience. With Jennifer Brandel, the CEO of Hurricane, she talks about a people-powered movement. That we need to think about people not as the receivers of content and information, but instead see them as participants in our journalism. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we don't make decisions about our journalism in newsrooms amongst people who are very often middle class and white and male, but instead we go out to our communities and we ask questions. What would be meaningful and relevant to you? What is the journalism that you want to see in your community so you see yourself represented in news and information? That it's less about technology companies and media companies thinking of ourselves as parents, but instead as servants of people. That we truly embrace the idea of public service journalism. Jonas Downey in Basecamp, a designer, he's asking questions of his industry. Fundamental questions. Is your work helpful or is it harmful? Is your company collecting and selling personal data for gain? Is that helpful? Is your company using dark patterns or deceitful marketing? Is that helpful or harmful? Is your company seeking scale and success at any cost? Is that helpful or harmful? Is your company replacing genuine, authentic human culture with automated technology? Is that helpful or is that harmful? And these are the questions that a lot who are embracing this move slow, be thoughtful, be purposeful, fix things, build things that they're embracing. There's commonalities to them. They're thinking about those questions of social good. They're thinking about less the short-term growth in users and more about the long-term sustainability of our solutions. They're seeking not to disrupt journalism, but to play a part in its sustainability, the very survival of journalism. And that means thinking differently about how we judge success. And in this moment, it means being people-powered, a public service journalism, that public service remit, leading with listening, leading with empathy, asking questions of your community. It means time well spent, and we see organisations like Hurricane, like Tortoise Media in the UK, that are saying, let's slow down, let's embrace slow news. What does it look like if we just give people 5 articles, and that's it, enough every day? That is enough to feel informed about the world. And the way that they're going to embrace time well spent is saying, we are not going to have an advertising model. You're going to be part of a community, part of a membership. We're going to have an open newsroom. We're going to do organized listening. We're going to go out and help people be a part of this journalism, to participate in it. We see technology companies, media companies, researchers, data scientists being collaborative. It's an incredibly competitive industry, but we're in a moment embracing collaborative projects. And we see this with the likes of First Draft and Crosscheck, election projects world over, where people are coming together into one collaborative, unified platform and saying, let's work together, let's unify the effort to verify content, to debunk it, bring it to the public that they can be informed, particularly around elections. And the fourth principle that we're seeing with a lot of these tech companies, media companies, embracing move slow, build things, fix things, is transparency. To show people how we do the work inside technology companies, inside journalism, inside media companies, that there's an ethical principles underlining it. And that's something that we hold dear to in Kinzen as a company. And in Kinzen, we are part of this movement, this move slow, fix things, build things moment, where we believe there is a crossroads and we've chosen to embrace it. And we are a technology and data company that is building personal news products for people and publishers to give people that ability to take back control, to say enough, to give them control of their experience. But the same for publishers and journalists, for them to have a moment of saying, I want to take back control of the individual relationships with people in my community. And we're going to do that underpinned with a mission, a civic duty, to connect people with quality journalism every day and give them control of that. To give them a healthy news and information experience every day where you can come in and build an experience according to your location, your topics, your profession, your passions, but also tap into a community and broaden your mind. And we're going to do that by using what we call the citizen algorithm. We're going to use machine learning and data science that is informed by human curation and is informed by your explicit user choices and intentions to build a recommender system that you own, that you control, that you inform. And we call that personalization with a purpose. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, we mean that you come in with your intentions, your signals, and that informs the content, the news, the information that you see. No hidden algorithms. No tracking you across the internet. No looking at content and saying, well, there's an emotional nature to that, there's a virality to that, we're going to recommend that. No. This is about your intentions, your signals to bring you quality news and information. Personalization with a purpose, with no hidden algorithms underpinning that. Now, I imagine some of you are sitting there going, that is great if you can build me a personalized experience according to my profession, my topics, my interests. Fantastic. And if I can build a routine around that and be mindful, super. But what if I go further into my filter bubble? What about my unconscious biases? And that's something we thought a lot about. Are those unintended consequences that we have seen in past years? And that's why we are building a community from the ground up. That when you come into Kinzen and you have that personalized and localized experience on the one hand, on the other, you are tapping into a community of curators who are building channels every day from breastfeeding to cryptocurrency. These are curators who have joined our community who have said, enough, I want to be part of fixing what's broken. And they are motivated every day to help break people, burst them out of filter bubbles, but ultimately to be the wisdom in the crowd, to build quality channels of news and information and share them out. And finally, we're thinking about this concept of health and fitness for news. What does it mean to be mindful about our consumption every day? But also to recognize that who we are in the morning is very different to our identity in the evenings. I'm sure some of you got up this morning and thought to look at the Irish weather and thought, is it going to be grey skies or is that heat wave going to come back? Tonight, some of you are going to care about life in Dublin. You're free from 7:30. You're going to care about what's happening. Or maybe you're going to want to read up in Game of Thrones penultimate episode and the final episode next week. But that's your choice. And you build different channels based on where you're at that moment of time in the day, but that we are respectful of your time. If it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, that the principle is less is more. That it should be about routine, productivity, quality experiences. And that is what it looks like to move slow and build things over this last 18 months. To build it also from the outside in, understanding people's needs and behaviors, their incentives and their motivations, and to build something like Kinzen with people in mind. We're not the only ones doing it. We are part of a group of people who want to move slow and build things to fix what is broken. And I hope for some of you sitting here today, this is a mantra that you'll bring back to your companies and think about what it looks like to lead with purpose, be thoughtful about the technology, the media, the companies that we're building today.